Alexa, stop.
Have I been talking to a blue mic this entire time? Field, have you heard me at
Yeah.
all?
No.
Did I just do my PSAs on a blue mic? Oh my goodness. Anyway, you're here. Go ahead. How are you, Field?
Oh, I'm fine. How are you, Jenny?
Oh my goodness, I am so beyond. It's Monday. I just looked down and my mic was blue. So everybody, you know my PSAs. I'm not going to do them again, but I want to welcome you back, Field. Everybody has missed you, so I am glad that you are here. How have you been?
Well, yesterday was the worst day of my life, but talking to you and talking to my barber and talking to one other person named Heidi, I've turned my day around. And I would not say that I was suicidal because I don't even have that word in my vocabulary, but I was very discouraged yesterday. But I'm feeling much better today, and I'm feeling much better because of at least three people in my life, one of which is Heidi, my this is sort of funny. Do you mind if well, never mind. I'm not going to ask you if you mind. I know you don't mind. I was pulling my pants up today and zipping my zipper, and my front door opened, and it was Heidi, who basically is the only person who can open my door if it's locked because I trust her enough and I care about her enough and she cares about me enough that we have, a relationship where uh, anything except sex goes. I mean, there's no physical attraction, but she cares about me. I care about her. And she came in when I was pulling my pants up to go to get my hair cut. And I thought it was funny. And she thought it was funny too. Um, because it was a type of an encounter that with other personalities it might have been uncomfortable, but there's three people I've talked to today that care about me. One of them is Jenny, JENNI. One of them is Heidi, HEIDI, and I'm forgetting the other person, but I had another person today interact with me. Oh, my barber. Her name's Sarah, and she lifted my spirits. So my spirits are back to normal. And The reason why I was so despondent yesterday was I really started to question if anybody in the world cared about me. And before I could even utter that statement, I had people telling me that not only they cared about me, but that others do too. So let's go ahead and share the love and encourage everyone to be positive and be aware that many people love you no matter who you are or no matter who you think you are, because sometimes we judge ourselves inaccurately, as I recently did. Amen. Over to you, Jenny.
Amen, Field. And I want you to know that we love you here within this audience and other audiences on the other platforms that I'm at. You are very well loved, and of course on our little chat over there. So don't ever, if you ever feel that way, just pick up the phone. I'm here for you anytime, and as is the audience. And trust me, I'm sure everybody has felt that way a time or two in their life, and that's just normal, right? We are going through some crazy times right now, and just know, feel that you are so loved. I'm telling you, you were so missed when you these last couple weeks that you haven't been on the show. Where's Field? When's he coming back? Why isn't Field on? I'm like, oh my gosh, everybody, he has a life outside of the podcast. So I let everybody know you were on vacation, and you sounded like you had a great time. So I'm really happy that you had a good time, and you sound regenerized when you got back. So we are really happy that you're back and back with us here on the podcast. It's not the same without Field Mcconnell.
Well, thank you. Because, and it's maybe it's sad to say, or maybe it's okay to say that this is a big part of my identity. And so, I think that I can bring stuff to the forefront of the public awareness. Like today, I'm going to say some stuff about Nancy Pelosi that none of your listeners are aware of. But at the end of today's show, they will be very much aware of what Nancy Pelosi was about and why she had to die. I'll leave it at that for now. Okay?
Well, let's let her rip, potato chip. The floor is yours, my friend.
Oh, okay. Well, good. I accept. Nancy Pelosi had to die because of something she participated in on November 7th of 1969 in the Baltimore. In fact, has the show started? Because if the show hasn't started, it's about ready to right now. Go ahead.
Yeah, it started. You are live, my friend. You are live.
Oh, good. Okay. Anybody who likes Nancy Pelosi, please go to the bathroom or the kitchen and take about a 25-minute break because I'm going to be signing the death warrant for Nancy Pelosi, even if she is already deceased, which some people have told me she is, and she certainly should be. But on November 7th of 1969, a a woman who I'm really choosing my words carefully, and I'm crying right now. Like it really hurts. I don't like doing what I do. Uh, Jenny, can you imagine my emotional baggage knowing what I know? It's not what I think. Like a lot of people, that infest the podcast, they're just worried about themselves, or they're thinking that they're something special. I know I'm nothing special, but I do have some special information, and here comes a batch of it right now. So hang on tight. Everybody sit down and grab a drink that doesn't have alcohol in it, because I've learned over the last 48 hours that maybe I should lighten up. Um, and so, I take, actually take judgment, or if somebody tells me something, I take it to heart, and I I live to learn, and But anyway, let's go back to Nancy Pelosi because I want to, I want to put the finishing touches on her gravestone. November 7th of 1969, a young 26-year-old lady named Catherine Chesnick, Cesnik. She was brutally murdered. And this is a Catholic sister, meaning she's an educator in a Catholic school in Baltimore, Maryland. And she was executed, as in murdered. And the reason she was murdered, and if this hasn't met the daily press, I don't think it's been acknowledged in the published news yet, but I think it will be. That's my mission in life now. Yesterday, I wanted to die. I mean, I'm not suicidal, but I was just so depressed because all this crap that I know, and I know it, I don't think it, I know it. On November 7th of 1969, while I was in my second year at the United States Naval Academy in Annapolis, Maryland, about 7 or 8 miles north of the Naval Academy, a body, God, I hate saying this, but a body was put in a garbage dump, and that body was of a 26-year-old Catholic. I'm not even Catholic, but I'm nothing other than a human, but I have a heart. And sometimes I wear my heart on a sleeve. And when they killed that young lady, Catherine Chesnik, Cesnik, it's a Ukrainian or a Slovenian name, I believe. A friend of mine whose name is Hermano could tell us specifically where that name comes from. She was murdered, and Nancy Pelosi, that I'm trying to think of a polite word for her, but I just don't have that many words in my vocabulary. There is nothing polite about Nancy Pelosi. She and Joe Biden, um, even though they may not have had anything to do with planning the death of sister, that's what you call a nun, sister Catherine Chesnik, they covered it up. And well, I'm uncovering it because I am so disgusted at the quality or lack of quality of the elected officials in the United States of America. Both Joe Biden and Nancy Pelosi helped cover up the murder of a 26-year-old Catholic nun who was guilty of nothing other than trying to protect roughly 100 high school girls who'd been abused by the priest that was in charge of their Catholic school in Baltimore, Maryland. And the name of the school, I don't remember the first name. I think it might have been Theodore, but the last name was Keogh, Keogh. And, I don't know what it takes to make normal people agitated, but I know what it takes to get me agitated, and it's called not much: child trafficking or murder. And in this case, the murder of a Catholic nun at the Keogh, Keogh, I think. Um, it's no longer in existence. Thank God, literally, thank God. If that was a learning place for Catholics, what were they learning? Were they learning abuse of young ladies? It appears so, because that's why that school no longer is in existence. And there is a documentary. Now I'm starting to be long-winded. I don't mean to be that way, Jenny. I'm sorry. But there's a documentary on Netflix called The Keepers, and it's about this school where roughly 100 teenage girls were abused by a priest. If that guy and I met, and it wouldn't have to be a dark alley, it could be on a bright sunlight. Like right now, today, it's sunny and it's probably 90 degrees in Plum City. And if I met that guy and he was alive and vigorous, he wouldn't be in 3 minutes, because there's several things that are my on-off switch: child abuse, sexual abuse, and treason. And, the first two are included in the same subset, and treason is another issue. But I refuse to be silent about children being abused. I refuse and I choose not to be silent about this Catherine Chesnick, who was murdered on the orders of a priest. That she was a teacher in the Keogh Baltimore High School for women. It was just, there were no men, there were no male students. God, I hate sex. I mean, I know it's necessary. No, but I don't even like talking about gender stuff, because no matter what you say, pro or con, you're going to be criticized for having those feelings. Here's my feeling. I think all of us are created equal, males and females, but males and females need to be respectful of each other. And I, as a male, am proud to say I've never taken advantage of a female. And, the caveat, of course, there always has to be a caveat, doesn't there? Against their will. I've enjoyed the pleasure of a female or two, or 15 or 2,500 in my life, but never if they were not consensual. And to me, that's the key. I love everyone. I love males. I love females. I love my children. I'm having my 10th grandchild in 2 months. And, I look forward to he or she, and whether it's a he or a she, it doesn't matter to me, as long as it's a healthy, young person. And I stop short of saying an American. I'm not hung up on where I happen to live. My parents were Americans, and they had a very good New Year's Eve in 1948. And 9 months later to the day, I arrived and I was healthy. And, I'm so glad for my parents, now both deceased, and I'm starting to cry. But my parents raised one of their two children to be a, a caregiver to a nation. And the other child, my sister, she was evil. She was, as I expressed under oath in court, maybe 7 or 8 years ago. I said to a judge who happened to be a pedophile judge, uh, I almost gave myself a permission to use a very disgusting term. It's uh, it's like my initials. My initials are FM, but what I was thinking of was MF. Uh, there's people in this world who are MFs, and I do not like them. I do not tolerate them. I do not excuse them, and I will name them by name if necessary, and I will expose them because that's what I am. And when I say expose, uh, forget about the fact that when my door opened today, I was pulling my pants up to get ready to go to my haircut, and there was a lady, um, and a lot of people in this chat room know the lady's name. Notice I didn't mention Heidi. Oh, I guess I slipped. Oh, yeah, what a pisser. I slip a lot. Like Dan Casey, he's the judge that sat in the kangaroo court in Florida and disadvantaged me and took advantage of me for no legal reason. I was incarcerated, I was extradited, and I was guilty of nothing. And that's what the court concluded. They concluded that I was guilty of nothing. Okay, well, I'm guilty of one thing, and that I'm going to plea right now in front of your chat room, Jenny. I'm guilty of being a motherfucker when it comes to somebody going after child traffickers, female abusers, or traitors. And I'm not happy to say, but as part of my qualifications for doing what I do, which is rather unpleasant, and that's why yesterday I I'm not suicidal, but yesterday I thought I'd rather die today than continue. But here it is another day and I'm continuing. And so the people out there, and there's plenty of them, the people that are trafficking children or trafficking women, I'm going to get you. That's just the way it is. I don't care where you are. I don't care where you're hiding. You're not hiding from God. And God has some people dedicated to his principles that are willing to serve God in a very dangerous world. So, Jenny, I'm sorry for rattling on so much. I'll turn it back over to you, Jenny.
No, 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 you're fine, Fields. I'm glad, you're speaking about the children because, that's what this movement's all about. I think, for so long, so many have forgotten about the children, and many just don't want to face the fact that they have been harmed so horrifically. And I think what is happening right now with this Epstein thing is making people talk. It's making people ask the questions, and it's even got the left requesting this Epstein list. But I think, and you can tell the audience your opinion on this. This is, it's they're really focusing on Pam Bondi and all this other kind of stuff, saying people lied and everything when it comes to the Epstein list. I think what people need to understand is that this is bigger than anybody can imagine. It's going to pop off so many other things, and it's going to lead to so many other things. But, in the meantime, through the course of a lot of this, a lot about the children is being brought up. So that is big. And that's even being, talked a little bit about on the mainstream media. So, we want these, I call them shit stained beer goggles, the sleepers that just have their heads not in sand anymore. It's just straight up dog shit. Because they're seeing that things are normal. Things aren't, they're just living life like nothing's going on, right? So having the media and stuff talk about this kind of stuff and what Epstein, has been accused of and has, there's proof out there is what's been done, right, with the women and children and so many. But I would love for you to give the audience your opinion. I know you're talking about Pelosi and everything because obviously she ties into a lot of this as well. But I don't know if you've been paying attention to it or not regarding the Epstein files. And what are your thoughts on everything that's going on? I think so many people are focusing on just the surface stuff. They're not looking deeper into the bigger picture and what this can pop off and explode in many directions. People think Diddy's going to walk. He's not going to walk. Diddy's not done. It's just I think there's a lot of distractions for people right now to look over here when we should look over there because I do believe
Yeah.
there's a lot of movement going on with the Trump administration behind the scenes, but they can't have us be focusing on that right now. I believe they're trying to maybe, a lot of this distraction is so they can get what they need to get done behind the scenes. So a lot of this stuff could start popping off. What are your thoughts?
Well, I agree with everything you just said. and I don't think I could have expressed it so well without saying motherfuckers, because that's the people that we are waging war against. And by the way, we are winning. And Donald Trump is not a politician. If anybody out there thinks he's a politician, they don't know what they're talking about. He is an executive, and he's taking care of business. And he's got a lot of loyal people in the military for once. I mean, the military has not been lily white. And I spent 26 years in the military, and my father spent 30. And my mother, during World War II, was a nurse who nursed my father back to health when he came back from being a prisoner of the Japanese, and he was emaciated. And so when I get sort of on my, some people might say I get on my high horse, or I do have a horse in this race. It's my ass. I was in the military. My dad was military for 30 years. My mom was military, and the military that we three served in was not loyal to America, sadly enough. And I've got balls big enough to say that. And if anybody in the military today that's not named Joseph Dunford, who is the retired four-star general in the Marine Corps, who is the director of the U.S. Treasury, if anybody doesn't have balls bigger than mine or Joe Dunford's, uh, then don't even talk to us, because we speak red, white, and blue. And I love America, and I don't like everything America's done, but I like everything America stands for. And I can assure the world, and I'm speaking to 100 nations right now today through JENNI JERREAD's platform. And if anybody has a hard time with her last name, join the club. JERREAD, JERREAD, JENNI JERREAD. She is, in my view, she is a heroine. And I don't mean the type of heroin you inject into your veins. I mean the female version of a hero. And as long as I'm on my high horse, I might as well let her rip. Here it comes. I think that women are more important than men because women bear the children, and men just get the start. They set the motion, they play their part. But a woman is totally committed to a child. And, I'm glad I had a mother. I'm ashamed of my sister. Uh, my sister, I believe, is deceased, as well she should be, because she trafficked children and she committed treason against the United States of America. And, I don't like that. And it puts me in, that's why I was so sad, JENNI, yesterday. The emotional burden of knowing what I know, not thinking what I think, but knowing what I know, is sometimes it consumes me. And I don't want to be consumed. And I don't want to consume anything that causes me to lack judgment, or, you know, uh, even hinder my life. Like maybe I could become, I am not suicidal. I am not. But I tell you what, knowing what I've known for as long as I've known it, let's go back to 9/11 of 2001. I knew on the morning of 9/11 what weapon had been used against America, and it was the Boeing uninterruptible autopilot. And I'm going to be really blunt now, and I'm going to strike a dagger in the heart of the CEO of General Electric, because it was not the Boeing uninterruptible autopilot, it was the General Electric uninterruptible autopilot. And the man who, he might consider himself a man. Hopefully his wife thinks he is. But his name is Jeffrey Immelt, Immelt. And Jeffrey Immelt and General Electric played a big part in 9/11. Jenny, have you ever heard that out of any mouth other than mine? Yes or no?
No. Did you hear me, Field? No, I have not.
No. And you know what? Jeffrey Immelt, I'm going to spell Jeffrey, that's like Jeffrey Epstein, same difference. His last name is Immelt. And when he was CEO of General Electric, before they changed their name, interestingly enough, why did they change their name? Who knows? But he was the CEO of GE, and he had a $275 million insurance policy on his life. And I just had a light bulb go on, not in my mind, literally in my room I'm sitting in right now. A light bulb just came on and then it went out, and I had nothing to do with it. But I've got everything to do with pointing the finger at Jeffrey Immelt's General Electric, because like a lot of other corporate entities, a lot of corporate entities are trying to disparage Boeing, Boeing, Boeing Aircraft Company. And I'm not one of those people that would cast doubt on Boeing. I'd cast doubt on their competitors like Airbus. And just yesterday in the news, I don't read the news, I write the news. But just yesterday, it was reported in the media that Boeing is making a comeback against Airbus. And I've flown Boeing aircraft, I've flown Airbus aircraft. I don't give a shit about what I've done. The only thing that I've done that is important at all to the world is I've stuck my nose in the business of those people that have trafficked children or committed treason uh, against, in my case, against the United States of America. But the United States of America is not more important than Yemen, Saudi Arabia, Nepal, um, South Korea, North Korea. Uh, we are all humans. And why in the world can't we humans come to agree, come to cooperate, and come to love each other? Because, even the Beatles, and that was 50 years ago plus, they had a song called All You Need Is Love. Nah, 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 nah. All you need is love. Yeah, well, that's what we still need. 55 years after the Beatles played their last concert, which was 1970, somewhere. Here we are 55 years later, and we still haven't accomplished universal love. Does that make me um, a weak male? I don't think so. But Jenny, I'll turn it over to you. Do you think that males can be weak, or do you think males can demonstrate strength by universal love and respect for other people? Over to you, Jenny.
Yes, I do believe that they can demonstrate strength for sure.
Thank you. Yeah, and I'm not volunteering for anything. I'm just, it's well, yesterday when I really didn't care if I lived another 2 hours, I was just down in the dumps and I don't know why. But I'm not down in the dumps anymore. And I'm back into my fighting position. And when I say that, I don't mean pugilist, which reminds me, Jenny, how many of your listeners can even spell pugilist? I didn't think so. Pugilist. Yeah, no, it's a proper word and it's in the English language, but most Americans don't know what a pugilist is. Uh, and I'll tell you what it's not. A pugilist is not a pervert. It's not a child trafficker. It's not a treason uh, participant. And, I just wonder where the rest of when they're in the old Westerns, that when there was an insurrection, the posse showed up. And there were a lot of people in the posse, uh, many of whom had no official uh, organization. They were not a member of any entity that had authority. They were people that showed up and they took care of business. And there's still a few of us left. And I, for one, defy anyone, including my own sister, whose name was, past tense, was Christine Marcy, Marcy. I'm glad she got married because even though she had a lifestyle different than mine, and I don't mean a gender different than mine, I mean a lifestyle different than mine, she still brought damage to the name Mcconnell. And so I'm glad she got married and became a Marcy, and she can damage the Marcy family all she wants. Past tense, of course. I think she's been eliminated. And this might sound strange. In fact, what's going to sound really strange is I'm going to take a drink of something. And what makes it strange is it's ice water. That feels better to my throat. um, yeah, people need to be truthful or be loyal to the family teaching. And my mother and my father were both veterans, and they taught me to try to be respectful of others and be respectful of ladies. And which reminds me, I'm very respectful of ladies, but I draw a line between a lady, a woman, and a female. I've had 3 daughters and I've got 3 granddaughters, and I'm pretty much familiar with the gender differences, and I'm also respectful of them. And as a male, I respect, well, I was going to say females. Well, I do, but I prefer the name lady, Lady. A lady is, an echelon above a female or a woman. Anybody that's born with the gender identity, not selection, they don't get to choose. When a baby comes out of the birth canal, it's either a boy or a girl. And for those boys of us, we need to be respectful of the non-boys, which are called females, women, or ladies. I prefer the term lady. And, I just said this when I was having my haircut about 2 or 3 hours ago. Um, I I choose to be respectful of ladies, but I choose not to be kowtowed uh, to women or females based on gender alone. If you don't live up to the title lady, I don't want to hear from you. It's like me. I'm just an average guy. I was born in 1949. I'm 75. Yesterday I didn't care if I lived anymore. Today I'm reinvigorated and I feel like maybe I have something to contribute. Uh, I hope so, because I'm here anyway, so I might as well contribute to something beneficial. But
You do, Field.
I
You have a lot to contribute for sure. For sure.
okay, well, thank you. Well, that means a lot to me, Jenny. Thank you. And uh,
Of
and
course.
that's why I love being part of your show, um, your podcast. I know that you have a global reach, and I'm hoping that my words of wisdom, if they are, I'm not saying they are, you know, I couldn't even find my cell phone this morning. You know, I know what I'm good at. I know what I'm not good at, and I know the difference. And I'm just so blessed. That's with a capital B Lessed. I'm so blessed to be able to be on your platform whenever you call my number, because I think that I'm willing to say some things that other people are not willing to say. And and some of those things are ladies and gentlemen can be gentlemen, but it doesn't appear to me that that happens often enough. And I hope I'm wrong. I'm hope I'm hoping that there's more gentlemen than there are just, males. Because
Amen.
yeah, no kidding. I'm sick of it. Um, I'm ashamed of my fellow kickstand artist. What a kickstand means is the third leg, but that's not something that you know we we don't wake up one morning when we're 2 or 3 years old and decide, oh, I'm going to grow a third leg. No, no, no. When you come out of the birth canal, you're either a female or a male, and you don't have any choice. You have to live out your life with that identity. And, I'm 75, and as of yesterday, I didn't care if I lived anymore. And I'm not seeking guidance. I'm not looking for counseling. I'm just saying I was so depressed, and I don't even know why. I don't know what was depressing me, but it might be the entire bibliography. Well, you can pronounce that better than I can. Bibliography uh, of what I've learned and what I've learned firsthand in many cases, and it just troubles me. I just don't understand why we as humans can't be kind to each other. Um, Now, does that make me a peacenik, Jenny? Over to you. Am I a peacenik or am I not?
Um, Hang on a second, Field. I'm reading an email. I was not prepared for that. Hang on a second.
Oh, that's okay. I'm not prepared for anything. In fact, when you called me today, I had just started my truck at the barber shop where so I wasn't prepared for today's show. But by the end of the show today, I want it to be acknowledged by a majority of your listeners that Nancy Pelosi was a contributor to some of the most heinous, or is that heinous? I think it's heinous.
Heinous.
HEI, yeah, yeah, yeah. How she ever got elected to Congress is a question. But then, of course, her family history is her father was the mafia boss of Baltimore. And so that's the breeding ground she was raised in. And, uh, I've never ever fought with a woman physically. And I'm quite proud of that, because I don't think men should ever strike a lady. Uh,
Field,
but, you know,
real quickly, don't mean to cut you off, but I do, so I'm getting some questions here. Do you want to take any questions from the audience?
yes, 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 yes.
It's up
Let's
to
do that
you.
right now.
Well, no,
No,
it's
no,
up to
it's
you.
up to you.
Finish your statement, but I'm getting some stuff here on the background, so I just wanted to confirm if you want to take questions today or not.
Well, I told you I wasn't prepared for the show today because you caught me at my barber shop. Um, but anyway, and now it's living proof. We've proven that I was not prepared for the show today. So let's go right now just to demonstrate we can change gears, and let's go to questions and answers. I love that format. Over to you, Jenny.
Okay, everybody. So for those of you that are emailing me and messaging me, yes, we're going to take some questions. Those of you here on the front side, if you have a question for Field and you want to ask Field, please raise your hand. I will unmute your mic. Or if you want to write your question underneath in the comments, please do so. So real quickly, since we've been talking about your sister, here's a couple questions right here from Ryan Morgan. It says, can you please ask Field if he has heard of Turner Construction and their movement in 9/11? And so answer that. There's that first question. There's a second part to it. So go ahead, Field.
Yes, no, I've never heard of Turner Construction, but if there's a relationship between 9/11 and criminality and Turner Construction, I'd love for that entity to send a message through you to get to me. And the reason I say that the way I do is, I would like to answer every question I can with accuracy, but I'm a work in progress and I'm learning daily. Even at age 75, I'm learning daily stuff that I didn't know yesterday. So I will look into Turner Construction, but if there's any entity that is involved in the nefarious, how's that for a big, I almost said fucking word, yeah, but I'm going to strike that. How is that? Yeah. Okay. Well, let her repetition. Yeah. No, I want to learn. All I can learn about 9/11 because I think that I am someone who Donald Trump might consider calling upon if he declassifies 9/11, because I've known the truth of 9/11 since the morning of 9/11, and I published it before noon of that day. So anyway, enough about boasting. I'm not boasting about anything except I'm boasting about the fact that I'm a Christian. I believe in God. God sustains me. God has provided me with every gift that he could provide a human with. And so let's go to questions and answers. Jenny, over to you.
Thank you, Field. All right, everybody, go ahead and raise your hands. You're asking if we're going to take questions. So, yes, we are. So, please feel free to raise your hand. I'll unmute your mic. Don't be afraid. Here's another one. Since we're talking about Obama and your sister, it says, can you please, this is from Working 9 to 5. Oh, she first of all says, your love, Field. I appreciate you for all you do. You're funny. I always look forward to your discussions on this platform. Thank you, Working 9 to 5. And here's her question. Can you please talk about where Obama was born? I always thought the lie was that he was really born in Africa, but that your sister changed his birth certificate to show Hawaii. If I misunderstood, perhaps, but there was some mention of him being born in White Rock. Is that British Columbia, Canada? Thank you, Field.
Yes, that's 100% accurate. He was born in White Rock, British Columbia, Canada, and he was born, and I don't like, there's certain words I don't like. I don't like any word that is disparaging towards females because I happen to be someone who respects females immensely for what they do for every child born in the world. A mother bears the children, not the father. So, anyway, yes, Barack Obama, whose name is Barry Soetoro, and if anybody wants to see his name, it's on both sides of my hearse. Are you still there, Jenny? I heard a click on my phone.
Yeah, I'm here.
Oh, good. Yeah. Okay. And you've probably seen a picture of my hearse, haven't you?
Yes.
Yeah. And his real name is Barry Soetoro, Soetoro. So right there, let's stop and agree that if his name is not Barack Obama, then he was a charlatan president. And charlatan is too soft of language. Um, I'll challenge him right now. My name is Field Mcconnell, and I went to the Punahou School and graduated in 1967. Um, Barry Soetoro, Soetoro, went to the Punahou School, and he graduated in 1979. So I'm 12 years ahead of him in school, and I'm light years ahead of him in morality. I've never been married to a male. Sadly enough, I've been married numerous times, but in every case, a female, and I checked, and they were. Uh, but his husband, uh, everyone thinks that Michelle is a female. No, Michelle has a kickstand. And Michelle's birth name was Michael Levon Robinson from Chicago. And, you know, if people give a shit about America, why can't you give a shit about the authority of a president? And, you know, in Barack Obama, let's go back about 30, 40 years. My sister, whose name is Christine Marcy, that's her married name, uh, my sister gave him his name, Barack Hussein Obama, on his passport in 1994. If that can be proven wrong, go ahead and prove it. Drag me into a federal court. By the way, warning to anybody out there that doesn't like me, tough shit. You know, I don't like people that try to destroy my country. This is my country, land that I love. Uh, no, there never has been a Barack Hussein Obama. My sister, Christine Marcy, put that name on his passport in 1994. If I'm guilty of a dishonest statement with that, I invite somebody to bring a legal complaint against me, Field, Field, McConnell, Mcconnell, in a constitutional court. Because unbeknownst to most Americans, we are no longer under the municipal, the merchant and the admiralty courts. We are now under the authority of constitutional courts, and I think that was established in February of this year. I could be wrong. It's sort of something that's not talked about because the media never talks about the truth. They talk about fairy tales. And the fairy tale of the United States being a colony of England is over. And if anybody doesn't fucking like it, yeah, you're not going to like me either, because I am all about America being a beacon of hope and a source of liberty to the rest of the world. And if somebody doesn't like it, uh, give up on me, because you're not going to like me. And I'm not in a beauty pageant. I'm not in a popularity contest. I am a historian of the true history of the United States of America. And so few people around the world understand America. But let me just light a fire under the ass of some slow learners. For most of my adult life, I've been told by the media that Russia is our enemy. That is so much bullshit. Russia protected the United States of America with warships during the Civil War. When the British and the French were they were fighting over the scraps of what used to be America, and they wanted to, you know, they wanted to resurrect a new country and call it like New France or New Britain. Uh, but no, America survived. And why? Because the Russians showed up to protect America during the Civil War. If somebody doesn't agree with that, and somebody has the balls to drag me into a constitutional court, have at it. You know, I'll testify under oath what I know to be the truth. And what I know to be the truth is the United States of America is a great blessing to the rest of the world. Period. End of statement. Over to you, Jenny.
Thank you, Fields. All right, I've got a couple hands that were raised here. Okay, John C., your mic is unmuted. Go ahead and ask Field your question.
Thank you, Jenny.
Thank you.
Phil, you're awesome, and I just want to say what I respect your truth and your passion, that your love for this country, and most of all, your love for Jesus Christ. My question is, I don't know if there's a quick answer. I've been seeing a lot of stuff. Watching Captain Kyle, he's been saying that Dan Bongino and Pam Bondi are 2.0s. He also mentioned about your deal with Pam Bondi when you were in prison over that whole ordeal, and at what he did where you weren't there with your wife when she needed you most. So I know it pulls at the heartstrings. I understand if you don't want to answer it, but I just wanted to get your take on this whole thing with the Pam Bondi and what she did in your situation. Thank you, Phil.
Well, I don't know. I wish I had the answer to every question that's posed to me. I don't know if the Pam Bondi, who's the Attorney General of the United States of America, is the same Pam Bondi that existed when I was going through the legal issue. And if anybody doesn't know the legal issue, I'll make it as succinct as I can. I was accused in the 17th District of the Florida Department of Justice. I was accused of stalking a female attorney. Notice I'm not saying the name, but the name of the attorney that accused me of stalking her was not Pam Bondi. But when I first became aware of the name Pam Bondi, I wasn't pleased with what I uh, understood to be the truth. But that brings up the question, is this Pam Bondi 2.0? I would hope so, because the original Pam Bondi was not dedicated to the truth. And I can speak of that, on firsthand knowledge because of the treatment I received in the state of Florida. And the judge's name, by the way, 17th District of Florida Judicial District, if that's what it's called, his name was and is Dan Casey. And Dan Casey is the guy that is most responsible for the mistreatment of me. And I'm not a crybaby. I'm a United States fucking Marine. If you want to find out, come on, bring it on, and we'll settle it in about 3 strikes. And the first one can be yours, and the second 2 will be mine. But, Donald Trump himself, who's the leader of the world's strongest nation right now, he even said out of his own mouth, fuck around and find out. And that's what the Marines are all about. And some people don't like the military. That's okay. They live in peace and harmony because the military controls, to a large degree, the United States of America. And here's a history lesson for everyone listening. There is a reason why the Marines are called the president's own. Here comes the lesson. The United States Marine Corps is the only military branch in the United States of America that can be deployed on foreign soil with the interest of causing bodily harm and victory. For the bodily harm is anybody who would oppose the Marine Corps. Anyone who's opposing the United States Marine Corps has already flunked judgment. You cannot defeat the United States Marines. That's not in the Marine, and I used to be one, and I'm 75 years old, but I've still got a lot of piss and vinegar. And if you want to fuck with a Marine, you're going to be fucking with all the Marines. There's a 92-year-old man down in Florida somewhere whose daughter is a member of the chat room that you're all listening to right now. And he and I'm just a young squirt. I'm 75. He's 92. I'm 75. If you want to fuck with us, you're going to be fucking with every Marine that ever walked, because we only have two ways of life: dominate or die.
Field,
How's that for grim? Go ahead.
Field, this is Jenny. Real quickly on the Pam Bondi situation with you. So can we kind of clarify it a little bit? So, because I've heard this a couple times. So Pam Bondi was not involved with your situation down in Florida. Is that what you're saying?
Not to my knowledge. I mean, I don't know, but she
Okay.
was in office during that time, and I think that she was not well thought of by patriots.
Okay, and so could people maybe be misunderstanding, maybe because I know you had some you had Kim Pacazio, right? Could they maybe be mistaking her for Kim? Because wasn't that your attorney or something, Kim Pacazio?
Well, she said she was my attorney, which, and first of all, let me just clear the air on Kim Picasio. She is the woman that caused the legal issue for me, and she has since apologized. And what caused her to apologize to me, and I might start crying, I hope not, but when she found out that my wife Denise died before I was released from custody in Florida, she felt remorseful. And a lot of Americans can't even spell remorse, and fewer understand what it means. But I give her credit, and so I'm publicly saying that Kim Pacasio told me she felt terrible that my wife died while I was in custody, and I take her at her word, and I forgive her, and I have no malice towards Kim Pacasio. Now, what a constitutional court could do with that history is up to them, not up to me. And I don't know, why don't we just get over this? That was a very sad. Well, no, that was the saddest part of my life when my wife Denise died. And Jenny, I'm not asking you to put up a picture of her in your chat room, but can you visualize what Denise looked like? Do you remember what she looked like when she was healthy and alive?
Of course I do. She's very beautiful.
Yeah. And her inward beauty was much more significant than her obvious attractiveness. And, you know, I'm the only husband she ever had. God bless her. She was she was a single lady and a single mother, which is even more of a credit to her. She had a son whose name is George, and I knew that she had a son, and I knew that she had not been married. So do the math. I could figure out what was going on. And yet she was the nicest human I've ever met. And I'm 75. I've not met another human that I would judge to be nicer or kinder than she was. And that's a statement I'd like to take to my grave whenever that time comes. But I'm not going to have a grave. I'm going to be cremated. But let me tell you why. Because Denise, the nicest human I ever met, that was her instruction to me as her husband and her only husband. She said when she died, she wanted to be cremated. And so I picked up the phone and I called one of my 4 children, and I won't mention which one. And I said to that child, what, from a Christian standpoint, what is your feeling about cremation versus a burial? And that child of mine said off the top of his or her, and I know it was a her, not a his, but my daughter, this really, it it means so much to me. I cry happy tears. She said, "Ashes to ashes and dust to dust," and that's all she had to say because she was expressing her thinking that I could be cremated and not be in violation of any God's commands. And whoever the gentleman was who asked this question, he said something about my love for Jesus Christ. Well, that's nothing compared to his love for me. And why Jesus Christ could love someone like me is unbeknownst to me, but I'll take it because what a great, great gift. Over to you, Jenny. And I'm sorry I went sideways on you like I often do,
You,
because I don't do
you're
it on
good.
purpose, Jenny. It just comes naturally to me. Okay.
Yep. You never have to apologize, Phil. Everybody, we are off the cuff. None of this is scripted. We don't prepare for it. We just go with it. And you never
Yeah.
have to apologize to me, Field. So I appreciate you. I appreciate your transparency, your honesty, and that you feel comfortable sharing that with all of us. So you are absolutely good. And real quickly, everybody, I want to clarify. I just want to clear everything up. So you heard it from Field. So I think there's some confusion out there regarding the Pam Bondi situation and Field. There was not any situation with Pam Bondi or Field. So I just want to clear that up because I've seen it a couple times, and that's not you're getting it here from Field. So just want to make sure everybody understands that there was no issue regarding Field situation that involved Pam Bondi. Apparently, she was in office at that time, but nothing to do with Field's personal situation. And I'm correct in saying that, right, Field? Just so you make sure everybody knows this.
You know me, and you know I like vocabulary. So how about this? Absolve, ABSOLVE. I would absolve Pam Bondi from any negative relationship with the name Field Mcconnell. Okay?
Perfect. Thank you. Because yes, I've seen that out there a couple times, so I'm glad you clarified that. So, John, didn't thank you so much for your question. Did I answer all your questions you had for Field?
Yes, thank you, Phil. I love you, brother, and thank you for your answers. I appreciate you, my Orange County brother, and God bless you, man. You're an awesome guy. I love you.
Oh,
Okay.
thank you,
Well,
John.
first of all, I am your brother. And in Spanish, the word for brother is hermano. And I have a friend in Canada whose first name is Hermano, and he's also a brother of Christ, just as you are. And did you say Orange County?
Yep, I'm from San Clemente, and we talked when you flew out of Orange County when you're a pilot out there, and I just love your story. I love hearing you talk, but I don't want to take away from other people who want to ask questions. Thank you though again.
Oh, okay. Well, God bless you, brother. You keep the faith, and I know you will, and so will I.
Aw.
Bye bye.
Thank you, John. All right, Mr. Mark, go ahead. Your mic is unmuted.
Hi, Field, and hi, Jenny. Good
Hello.
for y'all. Field, I just wanted to say real quick that I'm very sorry you were down in the dumps and everything. And my guess is you were experiencing battle fatigue. So I'm glad you're feeling better. What I wanted to say I made a couple of observations, and I wanted your opinion on this as well as Jenny. The first thing is I just noticed a couple of days ago they were announcing that you no longer have to take your shoes off in the airport. Imagine that, all of a sudden the shoes aren't a threat anymore. What I think might have happened here, the comms that I'm getting, is that the Patriot Act must have been reversed. What do you think of that?
Well, I don't think anything because I do not pay attention to the media or the news because I just am too busy otherwise. And I'm not an egotist at all. I'm as humble as I can be without being dead. But I think that there's so much horseshit that has been um promoted to the United States of America in the interest of safety. Well, Jenny, can I have your permission for an F-bomb?
Go for it. Let her rip, potato chip.
Here it comes, Mom. What the fuck are these people in the government thinking? I told them on the morning of 9/11 exactly what weapon was used on the attack on the World Trade Center and the Pentagon, and what it was. The World Trade Center buildings 1, 2, and 7. 7 didn't get hit with an airplane, by the way, so I'm not losing my mind. 7 is the smoking gun that proves who did 9/11. But I didn't know that on the morning of 9/11. But I did know the weapon that was used on World Trade 1 and World Trade 2. And it was called the Boeing Uninterruptible Autopilot. Here comes another F-bomb, Jenny. Pardon me for the double dose. But what the fuck has the United States government been doing since 9/11 to prevent another 9/11? That's an open question. My suggestion is they've done nothing. If 9/11 is ever going to be understood, it's going to have to go through a constitutional court. And I like to keep my distance from Donald Trump for his peace of mind, not mine. I mean, I love him like a brother, and I like his motto, fuck around and find out, because that's very similar to mine, fuck around and die. But that's what has to happen to these people that destroy hope. They destroy faith. They try to destroy America, but they haven't gotten it done yet. And as long as there's a few fire-breathing Marines around, it'll never happen. That's my promise to the future generations of Americans. I, Field Mcconnell, have entrusted this sovereignty and the longevity of the United States of America to the United States Marine Corps, and nobody can take that away. And anyone who tries to take it away is going to find out the hard way that Marines don't fuck around, and the other people can find out. And I'm sort of breaking a quote of Donald Trump, who, by the way, I'm not political. I don't even vote. I don't waste my time voting. Why would I waste my time voting? Do they count the votes? No, I didn't think so. So I don't. My wife was English. Her name was Denise Irene Clark, and she was the nicest human I ever met. And yet she got down. I just can't say, I can't even talk about her anymore. It breaks my heart. But she's gone and I'm still alive. And she liked my fighting spirit. And she was from England. And you know what? I wouldn't rule out England becoming part of the United States of America. And I say that for a very, very, very obvious and public mention. Um, Donald Trump has used the term liberate the United Kingdom. And do I know what that means? No. But my guess is that Marines, it means, pardon my slipping tongue there, I said Marines instead of means. I sort of like the Marine Corps. They didn't really like me. But that's okay. It was not a popularity contest, was it? No, I think that the fact that Donald Trump once issued the statement out of his own lips in front of a microphone, liberate the United Kingdom, I believe that what he might have meant with those words, and I'm sort of a word freak. I don't think I'm a freak, but some people think I'm fucked up. Fuck them too. No, I think that if Donald Trump intended to say what he said, liberate the United Kingdom, I think the only thing he could have meant was liberate them from the presumption of royalty. There has never been a royal person on earth except one, Jesus Christ, who happens to be my Lord, my Savior. And even yesterday, when I was down in the dumps, somehow he saved me from myself. And I'm here to save other people too. I want to save not only every American, I want to save every person around the world. I don't give a rat's ass if you're from Yugoslavia, which no longer exists. It was segmented into Bosnia and something else. But we are all people. We are all formed in the likeness of God and his son Jesus. And is it possible that someday we might all live in peace and harmony and respect and love? I don't see any reason why that cannot happen. And maybe that's my dream. Over to you, Jenny.
Thank you, Field. Mark, did that answer your questions?
Yeah, it did. And I had a second that I think y'all might want to comment on. Is the other observation was when Trump planted the flag on the north lawn and the south lawn with no fringe. I think it meant he took back DC and it's no longer foreign land, because why would you govern on foreign land anyway? That's the criminality there. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does, Mike. And I got your first name correct, didn't I, Mike?
Mark.
M-I-K-E?
Mark.
Mark.
I'm the guy
okay.
that spends time at your home, Field.
Oh, now I know who you are.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've spent a lot of time in my home, and sadly enough, I'm looking at a picture of several family photos, but family means a lot to me. And do I have a family anymore? No, I don't. My children are grown. My children have families of their own. I'm alone here in Plum City, and if you've been in my house, you know what it's a nice house and it's a nice piece of property. And I get no credit for either of those. It was an act of God. I had a very unhappy wife once. Uh, Thank God and Greyhound, she's gone. That's a song by Roy Clark. He's also gone. He died. We're all gonna die. Yesterday I thought about, do I want to live? The the stuff that I am aware of, the stuff that I know, and it's not, I think, there's a lot of podcasts, there's a lot of spokespersons that think they know a lot. No, I know what I know, and I know what I don't know. And I don't know how to turn back the hands of time. I don't know how to make white people and black people understand that we are people. We don't need a white adjective, and we don't need a black adjective. I love people, period. And I wish I'd like to teach the world a song in perfect harmony. Anyway, there's probably not going to be perfect harmony, but what's wrong with aspiring to have that? Or what's wrong with aspiring to live long enough to see that in our own lifetime? And Mark, now watch this so you can see that my mind still works. Does your last name have 4 letters?
Yes.
Of course. See, I just proved to Jenny. Jenny had no idea where I was going with that. But yeah, I know exactly who I'm talking to now. And it was my pleasure to have you in my home for that visit, however short it was. And I'm guessing it was 3 days or less.
Yes.
Yeah, that was just a guess. There's a lot of stuff going on in my brain all day long. That's why I'm so tired all the time. Jenny, do you ever notice that I'm tired whenever you talk to me?
Sometimes, yeah. Well, but I know you do a lot of stuff during the day, so yeah. Especially
Yeah.
before you
No.
went on vacation.
Oh, let me explain that. Thank you for that introduction to why I went on vacation. There's a lot of talk about humanitarian values these days. And in your chat room, Jenny JERREAD, JERREAD, I met a woman who is legally blind. And I was attracted to her because her accent seemed very, very similar to my wife Denise, who died, 4.5 years ago. I hate that. She was younger than me by 16 years, and yet she died. Boy, I wish that could have been the other way around, but God doesn't allow us to do that. God's in charge, not me, not her. But yeah, the stuff I've been doing, it's really an emotional burden for me, and I'm not looking for sympathy. If anything, I'm looking for criticism. I would enjoy hearing somebody say, "Field, you're a big crybaby," and I say, "Guilty." You know, no argument there. I am a crybaby, but I cry because I care. And those are 2 words that maybe don't get used often enough in relation to each other. Sometimes those of us who cry, it's because we care too much. I care for all the wrongs in the world, and I try to eliminate those that I can. And have I ever eliminated some? Well, I'll distribute this across myself and my wife Denise. But when we started the Children's Crusade, there were roughly 30,000 sealed indictments out there. The latest I've heard is 562,400 sealed indictments. And I think some of the sealed indictments uh, have a history with either Field or Denise Mcconnell or both of us. And if that's the last words I ever speak on earth, I couldn't stand because I'd be dead, but I would stand by those words. I believe them to be correct. And so, Mark, thank you for your questions. I'm sorry I called you Mike, but they give me a little bit of credit. They both start with M and they both have 4 letters. And I also demonstrated my power of recall because I know your last name has 4 letters too. But in fact, here comes something interesting from Jenny's perspective. Mike, if somebody said Mike to anybody in the Army or the Marine Corps, they know what that means. That means millimeter. So if somebody said a 5 Mike, a 5 millimeter weapon. So anyway, isn't it fun to come to Jenny's chat room and learn stuff you never had a question about before? Over to you, Jenny.
Oh, Phil, I love you. You just, you through it all, you have a sense of humor. So, but I'm really glad you're back, everybody. Field typically gives us 90 minutes of his time, and we're right there. So, Field, we will see you back here on Monday.
Okay, that sounds great to me. You've given me a reason to live another week. Thank you very much.
Well, you know what, Fields, and come over in our little private chat and we can talk. All of us can chat with you. If you, like I said, if you ever feel down or whatever, pick up that phone, give me a call, and you're gonna be just fine. Because trust me, we all love you here in this audience, and also the bigger audience out there in over 100 countries. So never forget that. You are definitely doing great work for the world, for the children, and we love you and we appreciate you, Field.
Thank you very much. That means a great deal to me. And I'm so happy to be part of this community. And when I say part of this community, I'm talking about Jenny, JERREAD, and friends. And I'm going to go to the chat room right now and see if anybody's in there.
Yeah, we'll open it up. Typically, when I have podcasts, they shut it down. So if people want to come in and listen to it, they shut it down. But yeah, no, we can go open it up right now once we close here because I don't have a show until later with John. But yeah, that's fine. I highly encourage you to come over in the chat more often. We miss you over there as well. So we'll get that opened up here in a little bit. And everybody come back for John Baxter. He'll be here at 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And then Derek Johnson will be later this evening, 6:30 Central Standard Time. And with that, everybody, God bless you all. Field, we love you. Thank you.
Thank you very much. You mean the world to me, Jenny. And I don't say that lightheartedly. I say that, straight out of my heart to you, Jenny. I love you too.
Oh, I love you too, Field. We'll talk to you here in a little bit in the other chat. And everybody, have a great day. We'll talk to you soon. God bless everybody.
Bye bye.